Good evening and welcome to a Thursday night edition of the Buddy Martin Show. I am Buddy Martin. This is my show. I am with you at least 3 nights a week, sometimes 4. Tonight is the Orange and Blue Blood Show featuring our regular crew. Troupe will be here, Franz, Loren, Meadows, and I do promise to get that Paul Finebaum interview on the air. I know I've said it the last couple of nights, but we got it ready to go and teed up. And of course, what's in the news? Well, Jaden Rashada. What else? Stay tuned and tell your friends and neighbors the Buddy Martin Show is on the air. Come join us. Give us your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you right here tonight.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to the program. It's the Buddy Martin Show, Orange and Blue Bloods night, as we counted down 100 days till college football starts. Won't you be glad when you talk about the games and the players and the plays instead of all the policy wonk stuff? Well, that's what we got. That's what we got, and we will continue to discuss some of it without being too obsessed about it. But tonight on the program, we will talk about the impact of the Jaden Rashada lawsuit, if any. You'll hear from Ben Troupe along with Franz, also Loren Meadows. And we've got a tape that over with Paul Finebaum on another subject. I want to say that as part of a special Monday package, we'll have a full breakdown on the legal side of this Rashada thing with our lawyer friend and get an explanation from the legal standpoint from Jeffrey Melton and give his take on what is this legally. Frankly, I don't care about it, but we got to deal with it because it's in the news, folks. It's what it is. So tonight in the program, let's talk about, among other topics, legacy scholarship offers. We talked about a lot of this thing on the Friday night with the whole thing with the legacy of Graham, Ernest Graham's son, on Friday night, and we'll talk about it tonight from another one, a guy who you might have heard of in Hawthorne with Ben Troupe. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and talk to Ben Troupe. This segment brought to you by Meldon Law. They won't back down. Here's Ben on the subject. I know he's like me. He's sick and tired of all the policy and all the things going on. He wants to get to the heart of the season, get some action, but it's just about impossible. The moment we start saying, hey, college football is 100 days away, we're so excited, boom, hitting the gut with another legal issue. Hello, Ben Troupe. Good to see you again, and hope you're still as flag waving as you always are for the orange and blue and the pastors in the house. What do you have to say for what's going on right now?
I would love to say I'm surprised, buddy, but I'm not. And I think the thing about the Rashada situation that's most disheartening is he's going after Hugh, and he's going after obviously Coach Napier. And the thing about it is, at Miami didn't work out, supposed to go to Florida, didn't work out, goes to Arizona State, leaves Arizona State, he goes to UGA, and now he wants to try to see if he can get some money back. Now, do I think he got a case overall? No. Do I think it's gonna get settled? Like, do I think he's gonna get something? Yes. Do I think it's gonna be what he wants? No. But I think the thing about it is, buddy, is when you talk about the recruiting trail, when you talk about we always talk about the things that are said on the recruiting trail. We said this, buddy, when NIL first happened. We said, look, it's going to be a bump in the road. Now, we wasn't predicting Florida by no means at all. But the thing that Rashada is going to run into really, really quickly is if you did as they said or reported, if you just got out of the deal, say, listen, okay, I want out of the deal. I don't have to know a lot about Hugh or Billy to know they're gonna have really, really good lawyers. Now this is unprecedented. We've never seen anything like this.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think, buddy, it's just par for the course. I think when you talk about NIL, I don't believe that Rashada is the only person to ever try to sue. But when you the head coach of Florida, that's national news. So that's what's going on right now.
Right.
I think we're gonna have to wait and see because. Mm-hmm. The thing that Rashada hasn't been told about his lawyers is they're gonna ask you everything. They're not how you came in here and told me what you said. Did you agree to get out of it? Yes. What were the terms of that? And Billy Napier was not a part of the collective. He endorsed the collective. So he had nothing to do with the deal itself. Now Hugh, I don't know. I mean, Hugh was as I've come to learn, I think he's a big time booster. But I just think when it's all said and done, buddy, this has a lot to do with the fact that, listen, a lot of momentum on the recruiting trail. The best transfer class there is. I think we number 5 right now in 2024 class. And like I say, do I think it's coincidental that he just happened to be going to the rival school up there in Athens and this comes out? No. Yeah. Is he being influenced? Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Will it all work out for him in the end? I say no. Because the thing about it is, buddy, you listen. I mean, what they say, man, you come at the king, you better not miss. And I just think that with a situation like this with Billy Napier, number one, I do think Billy Napier's getting caught up in the crossfire. I don't think Billy Napier told him anything. Why would Billy Napier guarantee something that he don't have? I'm gonna just say that Billy Napier don't have that money, but I think it blows over, buddy. And anybody that didn't like Florida before, they're just gonna pile on. Anybody that had something to say before, they're just gonna pile on. But guess what? That team down there in South Florida, this ain't finna have no. If this team needed anything to rally around their head coach, this is it. Well,
I think that's a key point that you make. If you're interrupting you, we're not lawyers and we can't speak from the law side, but I will have a good lawyer on here probably on Monday. Jeffrey Meldon is going to come on and talk with the legal aspect of it because, as you know, there's the real world and there's the legal world. Yep. And we're not accustomed to dealing in the legal world. But all the things you said, I don't know. They're saying now, well, what proof does Rashada have? Does he have a document? Does he have a whatever? The guy, the lawyer for them, he's a pretty well-known lawyer. And he's obviously got his eyes on the prize and probably trying to rattle the cages to get other players to represent him. It is. I'm kind of stuck on this issue. And at first I thought, no, that's not going to happen. But it is rather curious, again, why they waited until they signed with Georgia to issue this lawsuit. Now, there's check the language. I've read that Kirby Smart gave him their blessings to go ahead with this lawsuit. Well, first of all, Kirby couldn't stop it.
Exactly.
I mean, there was no way he could stop him from suing. So maybe he didn't so much give his blessings as just step aside and let the lawsuit happen. I don't know what was said and done. I'm a little concerned that coaches will be sued by a lot of players now.
That's what I thought too. But this is only there is no such thing as isolated incidents in college athletics. It's just not. I think that's a great point you make about Kirby. Kirby can go ahead and give him his look like to the media perception wise, look like I give him his blessings and he waits. If he wins, well, we just always support our players. If he blows up in his face, well, Rashada he's his own man. We can't. So it's one of those I can't look bad in the situation as long as
plausible deniability if he needs his guy right there.
But I do think it blows over though, buddy, for this reason. Like I said. Having representation when you're talking about trying to get deals done is a very, very slippery slope because Rashada, whoever was representing him in order to get this deal or whatever, they're going to be questioning him. They're going to ask him, why did you get out of the deal? Like, why did you? Because early reports said you got out of the deal, and that's how you end up at Arizona State. And not to throw anybody under the bus, why are you suing the head coach and a booster and not the collective itself? Because
Right.
last time I checked the money, so it's a lot
Collection's
of
gone. It's dissolved. So you can't enter it anyway
yeah,
right now, as you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah. So without getting a deep dive here and getting over our heads, it's one of those things. And I've asked a lot of people this week, and I got some really good people lined up for the next couple of weeks about how this is going to impact them on the field this fall, and that's the key question right there. And the majority of people say not going to impact them at all on the field. If anything, now they've got a reason to really get up in the face of Kirby Smart and say, hey, now's yet another if you needed it, to be mad at Georgia and Kirby Smart for being the guy who so-called encouraged the lawsuit. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it plays out. But it's going to be around for a while. It made national news, obviously, still
Yeah,
at national
yeah.
news. I think the best.
Slow.
Yeah.
If this happens during the season, this is just another story. When in
Right,
the
but this
off
is
season
May.
where
But this is May, of course.
so
Yes.
this is made, but like I
Yeah.
said, one thing this when Jaden Rashada is talking to this lawyer in front of his parents or whomever, he's saying all the right things. When he said, "Can I speak to Jaden by himself?" and they walk out, they say, "Listen, I hope you know what you're doing now, because let me tell you something. The most famous coach in the state of Florida coaches at Florida. That is the most famous coach. I'm not telling. I'm your lawyer. I'm gonna represent you, but I hope you're ready to dig. Dig your cleats in or dig your heels in, because this could get. Remember, as much as you think you're trying to expose him, you're going to be exposed too. That's the part that I don't think these young people understand. Listen, if you want to go after him, but understand this: you got to prove words. If somebody says something to you, you got to prove they said it.
Right.
But money trails and paperwork. If
Yeah.
you don't got either,
Yeah.
that's gonna be a tough hill. That's
Yeah.
gonna be tough. But like I said, buddy, it's just part of the course when you talk about NIL and the ever evolving door. But I do think when it's all said and done, I don't think it ever goes to court. I do think some money gets given. I don't think it's nowhere near the figure he wants, and I think it's closed. I don't think the money will be disclosed. Anybody, because Hugh, I think, is the one. Hugh I think he's the one that's going to be able to say, look, man, this is how we roll in the world. And usually we are nameless and faceless. The fact that you put the name and the face of somebody in the booster, I think that's the most
somewhere along the way, he's going to get a payoff, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
Let me get to another subject here. I thought about you having been at the TV20 and Jeffrey Meldon Scholar Athlete Banquet on Friday night and seeing what an outstanding young man Miles Graham is in every way, in terms of his academics, in terms of his football ability. His parents are so proud of him. And you've talked about legacy commits before, how important they are. And that's certainly one that could impact this program big. There's another one now they're talking about, and this is somebody you know about, CJ Ingram. And of course, you know who he is. His daddy is the coach at Hawthorne. He was a great player at Florida, Cornelius Ingram. And he also, he's a two-sport guy. And Ingram apparently threw for 38 touchdown passes and 2,600 yards last year for the Hornets, and they won their state second straight championship. And then he also had 24 points and 8 rebounds a game, and leading Hawthorne to a playoff appearance. So now in his senior year, he's being recruited in both sports, and we'll see where he goes from there. But wouldn't it be good to see CJ Ingram in the orange and blue playing for the Gators?
It would be fantastic. I mean, had a chance to, sit down, have a conversation with Cornelius, on 84 Reasons. And he was talking about just how blessed he was to be able to coach his son. And I think the thing about a guy like CJ is he's not getting recruited because of who he is. He's getting recruited because of how he plays. He just happens to be who he is. And yeah, but I mean, even getting back to what you said about Miles Graham. Miles Graham been wearing orange and blue before he even knew what colors was, right? And for him to want to come to Buchholz his senior year, be in Gainesville, and to want his own legacy was one of the best 84 reasons I've had is with Ernest Graham, his daddy, and a teammate of mine that I was blessed to play with, and And you could tell Ernest was kind of downplaying it, but he loved the fact that his son said, "Look, Daddy, yes, I got to walk in your footsteps, but I want my own legacy. Like right now, I'm Ernest Graham's son until I get out there and prove it." So from CJ to Miles to even Thaddeus Bullett's son, I know he's a preferred walk-on. He's coming to Florida. You know, I mean, even though Odom is no longer there at tight end, he was a legacy. I mean, you talk about the guys that's come through there. I mean, right now, you got another Jackson coming through that receiver, right now. And you can't, there are no bigger footsteps to come through than being a Jackson. When my granddaddy
I love that.
my father went there, my uncle went there, my auntie went there. And I think the thing is, buddy, it says a lot when you want to carry on the family name at a place like Florida. I mean, it will not get more prestigious than being a Jackson at Florida. But Miles, CJ, those guys they'll start something to where, who knows, 20 years from now, their sons, is trying to come through. And I think it's a great legacy to have, buddy, because number one, as you mentioned with Miles and CJ, they're great young men who just happen to play sports. And I think that's the part that Ernest was so proud of, to be able to say, man, daddies who play football or a big-time sport, they had big-time, careers, I always say, I never pushed them to do it. Never pushed them to do it. Because you don't want them to, because buddy, once you realize who he or she is, you're going to say, oh, you're so-and-so's kid. And it's hard to not, listen, if I would say this, if Ernest Graham played linebacker, he would be Miles, because Ernest was a outstanding football player. When I was going through his stats, I didn't know he was like number 5 all-time in all-purpose yards and everything. And he shared time with Robert Gillespie, right? And then, you talk about Seatric Faison and Deshaun Wynn and so on. But, yeah, buddy, I think you got a chance to meet the person. Most of the time, we get introduced to you and friends. First time you see us, we got a uniform on. It's great to go to a Meldon event to where you talk about these scholar athletes and you get to meet them as people. So that's what I'm happy you at a chance you guys. CJ, I mean, obviously, I hope he goes. I'm always, he's right there. I mean, he's literally Hawthorne is Gainesville, people.
Yeah, right there in the suburbs, exactly. Yeah,
and he's right down the road. I think it's an exciting time, buddy. When you talk about, what is there a better time in life to see legacy players out there and their dads in the stands, from Thaddeus Bullitt to potentially Cornelius Ingram. Obviously, you got Ernest Graham, and whoever else is coming. I mean, Kevin Taylor, the son of Fred Taylor. He came through. So I'm just happy for these guys because we know how blessed and humble and fortunate we were to even get a chance to go to Florida. And for your son to even have that level of talent in this even more competitive world of athletics. I mean, a shout out to him. And like I said, CJ is an incredible athlete, just like his daddy Cornelius was. Miles could easily play running back in Florida if he wanted to. He had those type of stats.
Sure.
Could either be a 5-star. But shout out to him, man. Shout out to all those legacy players. Because like I said, if Ernest Graham had, dreads in his hair, Miles looked just like his daddy. I've never seen his mom, but he looked just like his daddy. But I'm happy, buddy, that you got to be in the building and be around.
I'm telling you, you look at the smile on their faces during that ceremony. And I wrote a column saying, never mind the NIL deal. This is worth $1 million. To see your son walk up there and take that award and represent him as character, his faith, everything about him, his academics and the way he comports himself. Really, really impressive. And Ben, getting back to that in the final minutes we got here, is that we are people that we enjoy college football for those kinds of stories. And we get accused of being sunshine pumpers. Well, I've decided to embrace it. I've decided that I'm going to start an organization called the Great American College Football Sunshine Pumpers Society. And I've already got 4 members this week of people who committed to say, yeah, I'm in. All right. It's okay to talk about the stuff, the good stories, the feel-good stories, things that you like. And I would say you should be one of the ambassadors of this organization. David Moulton's mad because I don't have a good acronym for it. I just made up the Great American College Football Sunshine Pumpers Society. Yeah, we pump sunshine because we like it. And we like the story. We love college football. And anything we can do to raise the level of that talk we're going to do it. And yeah, we'll criticize them when they're wrong. But Ben, you are hereby nominated for this award and this organization as ambassador. Are you in?
I am in. I would be honored to do it. And I think, buddy, I think the thing is when people ask what makes you you, as far as like, the stories, you looking for the story within the story. Like not the one that jumps out at the whole world. You're saying, hey, if I get introduced to these people through a certain entity, University of Florida athletics, but then I go to an event and that's that same kid right there. That's him. Wait a minute, that's Ernest Graham kid? Yeah. Wait a minute, who was that? Oh, that's C.J. Ingram. That's Cornelius Ingram kid. What? Yeah, so they getting the honors on the field and off the field. As much meaning, and I know I can speak for Ernest and Cornelius, their plan B is football. Their plan A is athletics. The part they can't control, they're doing it. Because if you only see me at sports awards show, all I ever was what I was athletically. But if you see me, wait a minute, I'm also winning spelling bees. I'm also in FBLA and student council and FCA. It's well-rounded, holistic way of going about things. Because I'm gonna be a former athlete much longer than I'm gonna be a current one. Let's focus on the away from football while I still have football and basketball. If you CJ Ingram, and I think that's the thing, buddy. That's what makes you is saying, look, I could talk sports all day, but let me tell you what makes these young people even more interesting away from whatever they call home or whatever, on these playing fields.
Yeah, in our final minute and a half, Pastor Ben, are you still bullish on these Gators? It seems like until this recent bump in the road, a lot of good things were happening. They're getting these recruits. You're getting top players in. Everybody seems upbeat. Good stuff happening. Even the postseason and the spring sports is doing good. Are you as bullish on things now as you were last week?
I am. Because, buddy, like I said, the thing about a guy like Billy Napier is his approach to recruiting. Let's face it, at first, it was a lot of head scratching. But you see his methodology. Once again, I'm going to say this. It's not about getting guys out the portal. It's getting guys you want. They got the guys they wanted. O-line, you talk about wide receiver. Ricky Pearsall obviously reaching out to his former teammate. That kind of stuff helps. And every team needs a rallying cry. No better rallying cry to be able to have a player that never stepped foot on campus trying to come at your coach. And yeah, coach is a grown man. He can handle his business, but I don't want you coming at my coach. You come at my coach, you come at me. So yes, buddy, I'm all, let me go ahead and put it out there. Yes, I'm always going to be biased when it comes to Florida. I'm sorry. I just am.
You're a self-confessed sunshine pumper me.
But at the same time, I have a reason to be, though. I have a reason to be because I look at what we got coming back. I look at the coach staff we added. I look at the player we came back in Graham Mertz, which was the biggest pickup in the offseason. We had to add some O-line help. Check. We wanted to add some defensive players. Check. Even JUCO. We got the best player out of JUCO last time I checked. And we added a guy like Will Harris to come over there with the DBs. I just think DJ Lagway and company, yes, buddy, I am still very, very high on Florida. And just ask the people that's been here. Ask the Josh Pace of the world or the Cole Kublers of the world, people that just sat back and watched. Not that what they say matters. But when outside influence comes in and they have no horses in this race, they say, hey, man, you better watch out for these dudes.
They are both saying that. You're right.
Like I said, listen, 6 games and trying to figure it out, and I get it. We a couple of plays here. Defense going to be better. Offense got a signal caller that's been in the offense for another year. Last time I checked, the leading returning rusher in the SEC, I think he plays for Florida. His name is Montrell. A solid offensive, best inside lineman, one of the best inside offensive linemen in the country, and we added another one come from USC. I just like what we did, buddy. Yes, we haven't played yet. But guess what? I'm going to say it again. The team down south that seems to think that, we right for the picking, we will see because the whole world will be watching.
Come on, bring him on up here. Let's see. You bring yours and I'll bring mine. Let's see how it works out. All right?
Yes, sir.
Benny Troupe, he's the best. He's always upbeat, smiling. Great to have you on. Always good to hear Pastor Ben's sermons for the night. You take care. Have a good night, and we'll catch up to you next week.
Yes, sir.
The great Ben Troupe. Thanks, Ben. All right, thank you, Ben. Standing by in the Orange Blue Room just a second. Franz Beard, who's had some terrific stuff this week. He's written. We promised this a couple of nights. We have to get to it. A comment from Paul Finebaum, who we talked to about things. and we'll get to that. I want to tell you also, this program is brought to you by Meldon Law. Meldon Law, they are interested in you as a fan, interested in you as a client. If you have any legal issues and you're not happy with getting it settled and you want a second opinion, they will offer you a second opinion at Meldon Law. Check them out, Meldon Law, online, also Facebook. Give them a call and find out if you can go by and see them. They have locations in Ocala, Kingsville, Lake City, and now Williston. So Meldon Law is there for you. Meldon Law, they won't back down. Here's an interview I heard earlier with Paul Finebaum, but I've been promising it for 2 nights, and here's part of it now. My great pleasure to have my friend Paul Finebaum back on the program as we get a chance every now and then to talk with Paul. And he, of course, is in Charlotte, North Carolina, where he is doing anything and everything to everybody. And Paul, I thought I'd just start the program out by saying I just thought I'd Google you just for the heck of it. You know, I can Google you. Have you ever Googled yourself? I Googled myself once years ago. That was pretty boring. But anyway, you are doing so many things and see you everywhere, including on the podcast with my son, Brendan. It's good to get a chance to catch up just a couple of minutes before you take off for Destin this week. How's it going?
Buddy, it's going great. This is that time of the year where you make that hard turn when you get ready for Destin, which is a week from now. You know, the countdown, and this year it's so different because we're actually doing shows on the 30th of June and July 1st, welcoming in Texas and Oklahoma. How strange does that sound?
Wow, how about that? Whoopee, I just wrote it down. The new SEC. I can't wait to hear what Paul says about his trip to Norman.
You know, in fact, I was in Norman a couple of weeks ago, and I was I'm doing a profile of Brian Bosworth, and that was fun. But the most fun I had was hanging out with Barry Switzer, and you know, at 87 or 89, whatever he is, he still got it. He is hilarious.
The 80-year-olds are really rock and rolling these days. Dwayne Lucas won a Preakness this past weekend, so 80 was 88.
You got Dwayne, you got Barry Switzer, the guys running for president, or one's almost 80, one is 80. I mean, I'm in my late 60s, and
you're a baby.
You're 40.
Child, man. You're a mere child. Yeah, 60s is the new 40. You're right. Hey, Paul, in limited time we have, I know you're going to Destin next week to catch up. Are we, meaning guys like you and maybe information journalists, what you want to call us, in danger of getting mixed up with the policy wonks and just talking so much about every detail of the fine print of every deal and kind of getting our eyes off the prize?
Yeah, we had a show the other day, and I was telling one of our producers, I said, please tell me we're not talking about the House settlement, because while it is one of the most important stories ever, I don't really want to talk about it anymore. And one thing I know, buddy, the audience doesn't want to talk about it. They don't really care anymore. They just want to, just tell me what time the game starts.
Exactly. That's exactly right. You're throwing things at the TV. I don't care about that. Put the game on, whatever. So anyway, it's not just me. Others, I'm sure, are doing the same thing. But the important thing I wanted to ask you about, Nick Saban interviewed you the other day. Who was the most uncomfortable? You or Saban? I don't know. How'd that go? And it was interesting.
Well, it's interesting. It was in the middle of the women's softball tournament, so we were not live, which gives you a break, although I prefer live. And he got there, and I said hello to him. And he said something like, "I'd like to do something a little different now that I'm a member of the media." I know that's a line he uses. So I said, "I'll tell you what. I'll start like we're doing a regular show, and you just interrupt me and take it over." I had no expectations, so I start, and I didn't hear anything. I mean, usually, I look at him like, "Hey, coach, it's time to interrupt me," and he did okay. I think it's still not his natural habitat, but he did a nice job of, and I tried to kind of kibitz back and forth a little bit about how difficult an interview he was. So he came back and told me how difficult it was for me to teach me to be a defensive back, which I don't think is a real earth-shattering development to anyone. But it was, I felt good about it. It got a lot of attention, which in television, buddy, that's what you want.
Exactly. Well, he did pretty well in his first entree there on ESPN. He's going to be a real force on a game day, without a doubt, for sure. And let me just say this: while it's easy to poke fun or berate or whatever we do these coaches, I mean, what a national treasure Nick Saban has been for everybody, especially you. But I mean, everybody to have that guy and have that program carrying the water for everybody like he's done, it's been an amazing feat.
No, listen, I was doing. I really owe a great deal of what I've done since then to Saban, because in 2007, the year began with me at a local news talk station in Birmingham, buddy. I was following Rush Limbaugh, which at one time was really a great thing to do, but talk radio went up and down. But I felt like to have a chance, we needed to make a move. And everybody at my station was against going to the sports station in town. But the sports station had made a decision to go to FM. Now, that's natural now, but back in the day, sports was on AM. And Saban arrived on January 4th, and on January 20th, my contract ran out, and I said, we're going to the sports station. All my guys were against it. And in 1 year, and I say this is all about Nick Saban, our men 25-54 numbers, which is the key demo, or used to be in talk radio, quadrupled. And the rest you've witnessed. So Saban made it happen. All of a sudden, Alabama wasn't a punching bag. They were legitimate, and they were in the national conversation, which helped get me on ESPN's radar a couple of years later, and here we are.
Well, there you go. A rising tide raises all ships, as we know. Franz knows this. I'll tell you about North Central Florida's newest premier independent diagnostic testing facility for MRIs as we bring Franz aboard. Titan MRI, I was excited to announce, reminds you they are now open for business in North Central Florida, and they can custom make the appointments for you. If you can't make a traditional time, they'll make you a weekend or a night appointment. And of course, they know that you have a very busy schedule. They want to accommodate you and have a good customer service experience. Titan MRI.
Or Donna Perriman.
Okay, what was that?
Phone
Hello,
call.
Franz. How are you doing?
Oh, another day in paradise, buddy. I was at Golden Ocala tonight for Todd Golden. We had a really great crowd.
Wait, you were Todd Golden Ocala for goal? I mean, they named the place for him?
Well, of course, and they're thinking about naming one of the holes after me, of course. But that they said that I'm alive, so they can't do it right now. So
okay, there you go.
And I told them I have no plans to die. I said I have no plans to die anytime soon. I said I gotta live as long as Buddy.
Yeah, well, you got a ways to go, and we hope we'll be around here for a couple of more years. Franz, you've been writing some really good stuff. I sent you a note this morning about your column yesterday. It's really hard to write something interesting for a bunch of policies and lawsuits and lawyers, but you have a knack of putting it in perspective and making sense out of it. And I wanted to get your take. I know you had some thoughts today online about some of the things. I don't think it's anything that we can just dismiss and say it's frivolous. It's serious business. Well, of course, we're not lawyers. We don't know all the details. But you had some interesting comments today about it, Franz. They can't prove Billy did or said anything.
No, they didn't. And there's a very interesting tweet from Hal Lewis. I think I sent it to you.
You did, yes.
And Hal Lewis is one of the more prominent attorneys in this state. Great Gator. There's a terrific photo of Hal Lewis in 1984 on the goalpost that was about to come down at the Gator Bowl when Florida beat Georgia 27-0. And he was on a goalpost that was on its way down. Great picture of him. But he's one of the more prominent attorneys in the state. And here's what he had to say. I'm just going to go ahead and read this thing so people can hear it. The only written agreement that ever existed was between Jaden Rashada and the Gator Collective LLC. Yes, that LLC is not being sued, ? The actual individuals being sued were not parties to the agreement. There's the problem for Rashada, since people unaffiliated with a company cannot somehow bind or speak for the company. And once that written agreement was terminated on December 6th, everything became oral. Billy Napier can't make a promise to anyone that verbally binds a non-UF entity, Hugh Hathcock and his company, to fulfill a monetary obligation. That's ludicrous. And any lawyer would have told Rashada so, which is why the lawsuit has to claim that Napier and Hathcock were conspiring to never pay Rashada, but only to trick him into signing. Think about how ridiculous this is. Napier would have loved for the deal to go through so that he could sign a top-ranked quarterback when he desperately needed one. It makes no sense at all to allege that Napier didn't intend for it to happen. So, basically, it's called a torpedo to the bow of the SS Rashada. It's also called a giant middle finger up to Athens, Georgia, to one Kirby Smart, who I was the first one to report it, but several other outlets have reported since then that this whole thing happened with Kirby's blessing. Isn't it interesting? Think about this. That a full year plus goes by, no comment whatsoever from the Rashadas. He signs with Georgia, enrolls in school, and guess what? Within about 3 weeks, there's a lawsuit against the Gators. Coincidence? You think so? I don't think so. I think, and I got to tell you what, the source I have, well, doesn't sleep with Kirby Smart at night, but knows him pretty well and knows who does and knows where he is and when he is and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I at first I sort of dismissed that as an idea, but here's what I was able to discern after talking to a lawyer who might know a little something about this, and that is that while Kirby, the language used was had his blessings, that can mean a lot of things. This lawyer suggests maybe that's the wrong terminology, but Kirby wasn't going to stand in the way of it because he couldn't. Legally, there's no way he could stop him from suing. So whether he encouraged it or not, I don't know, but it sure feels that way, and that gives Florida fans one more reason to hate on Kirby Smart, to get all mad about Georgia, make this rivalry even more fueled by this. What the language was used and what it meant, I don't know. I'll leave it. I'm going to have Jeffrey Meldon on Monday to talk about it in depth in terms of the legal aspect of it. But I'm told that while most people say it shouldn't affect Florida on field at all, whatever, also I'm told that Billy was a little surprised and not happy about being personally named in the lawsuit, which I'm sure that was the case.
Shouldn't be. Perceptions.
Well, I mean, are players going to start suing coaches all the time? I mean, what's going on here?
Well,
what do you not you assume because you don't get to play? I mean, what is that all about? You got to draw the line somewhere.
Josh Pate says that's the next step.
Yeah, I heard that was a terrific comments by Josh. I talked to him today, and I'm going to have him on here in about a week or so to give his take on it. He kind of looks at it from a global. He doesn't really know anything, but a global perspective is that he's having a hard time to understanding what the connection is too. So if you haven't seen it, go and watch his what's it called, Late Kick, Josh Pate, and he did a really good job on it.
Here's what the problem is: we have opened Pandora's box. Everybody agrees players should have had a bigger voice. Players should have had rights given to them. Players should have been listened to when they were asking for help. The NCAA, instead of listening, instead of saying, hey, doing what smart people, intelligent people do, the NCAA should have said, hey, come on, let's sit down. Let's sit across the table. Let's hash this thing out. There's got to be common ground for both of us here. But did they do that? And
Yeah.
you know the answer to that, buddy. They did not.
Yeah.
Instead, the NCAA tries to go scorched earth and go to court. And we know how that turned out. The NCAA, every time the NCAA winds up in court, what happens? They ends up losing. I don't know of a major case the NCAA has won. Do you?
No, but you got a question whether it's not nothing. It is something. We bring Loren Meadows on to join us tonight. Get Franz in the right frame. Frame got half your face in the frame. That's your problem. My bad. That's just the way it worked out. So, all right. So, Loren, good evening to you. You heard what we were talking about. It's for everywhere you go. Obviously, it's something to in the off season. Someone said tonight, Franz, the fact that it was filed in May was not a coincidence. When the off season going on, it gets more attention, what have you. That's what they want. And by the way, another lawyer told me, suggested that what's the guy's name? He was the attorney for Rashada. He's a well-known attorney.
Rusty Harden.
Rusty Harden, yeah.
Harden. He said Harden. This is what the comment was made. Harden doesn't really want to settle. The reason is there's a whole lot more people out there who are players who are disgruntled, who are going with representation, and by having this suit in the national limelight, that gives him $1 million worth of publicity. Suddenly, he's the guy who starts getting these cases. So that's one theory. A lot of legal things here, hard to figure out. Loren, your take on the thing globally in terms of how it impacts the program, will it impact the team next year, and your thoughts about the way it was presented.
Well, like I said on Tuesday night, I'm kind of on the side of Billy and the university, because the simple fact is this thing has, I mean, the people to blame, and like Franz said, is the NCAA. They had the opportunity to nip this in the bud 10, 15 years ago, and they chose not to. And they chose to try to go to court and block things, and now we're here. As far as this lawsuit is concerned, I don't think it'll affect the team on the field. Jaden Rashada doesn't play for Florida. He's basically not been involved with Florida since last January. Obviously they've moved on. I think they got a better young man in DJ Lagway coming in. Sounds like is bought in. So I don't think it'll affect the on the field product or where the team goes. But globally, I think you're going to see more of this because there's no regulation of how these things are negotiated. There's a lack of paper trail. Nobody really, when you hear these figures, there's nowhere to go and look and nothing on record that you could see that anything was signed. Is it even legally binding when it's signed between an LLC and a young man or young lady? So I just think until they really get a handle, I mean, you had the $2.8 billion that was handed out with the House first, the NCAA today, and what the implications of that could be. Basically, I think it's basically stating that schools can now be involved in paying players, but what does that mean? What does it look like? Will the players then or athletes, attempt to have some type of collective bargaining and unionize, like we see in the pro leagues? There's still a lot out there. And I think right now what you just have with the Rashada case is just, it's really abstract. There's nothing concrete there. And, the sidelight with Kirby Smart and giving his blessing, I mean, that's big if you're a fan of things. I mean, but, and that just makes you hate Georgia more. If if you're like me and you just can't stand Georgia, that just gives you a little bit more fuel to the fire. But the fact that the case just really doesn't have much meat to it. And like you said, if they settle, then it kind of sets a precedent, but it kind of makes guys like Rusty Harden, who are going to want to jump out and represent more people, it kind of leaves them out there a little bit, and he can go back to defending guys when they get in trouble or, that kind of thing. So,
Franz, it feels like a murder trial with no body. Like you're trying to, what's the habeas corpus? You're trying to prove circumstantial evidence. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, so guys, let me shift gears for a second here. We could talk about this Rashada thing forever, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more. But today it's 100 days away from the start of college football. The schedule is out there. They released the thing today with each one of the home games, what their themes were, etc. It's a little bit of a feel about college football really being real, which sometimes this time of year we begin to wonder if it is. We're trying to get back to the basics of understanding. And Franz did a terrific article the other day breaking down the roster by position. And I read over that and I thought, you know what, they're pretty good. And we're seeing more and more things like Cormani McClain, the wide receiver that came here. They got some dudes, Loren, and they can play. And like we were saying today, I was talking earlier with Ben, that the first half of the season is a very good testing case. They could easily win 5, maybe 6 games. And by that time, you got your team built and you have a whole new swagger about you, and you're able to face the back half of that difficult, terrible, difficult schedule, with a little more confidence, and who knows what may happen. And Franz and I go back to the days when you talk about difficult schedules. Talk about Charlie Pell the year he didn't win a game. I mean, there's some difficult schedules in the past where Florida has not always had the best of it. This happens from a national perspective. The fact that it's brutal for the national. But let's take it and start through the season and look at it game by game on the home games right now. And then we'll talk about what is the feel we have right now about this team. Because we're just starting to feel a little better about it when all the Rashada stuff hit, etc. And I think I still feel good about it. And the opening game in Miami is everything. I mean, that will be such a big, big game. And they've owned Miami lately. But this game at home, game day will be there. They got the new defensive coordinator coming out there. Florida, it's going to be such a huge game. How big is that game, Miami, France?
It's big in that it's the first game of the season, and it's a power team. You're not talking about opening up against University of Southern New Hampshire. You're opening up against legitimate dudes. Okay, so that makes it huge. It's in state. That makes it huge. Miami has not forgotten Carlos Alvarez and John Reeves. They never will. That is their rallying cry. Miami is going to come up here thinking, oh boy, mean and nasty. But buddy, do you remember in 2000 and what was it, 19 was it? We show up at the Citrus Bowl, and along comes Miami, gonna beat the Gators, gonna kick the Gators' butts. How'd that work out?
Yeah, nice win. Yeah,
Miami came up here in Urban's. I think it was Urban's second year or third year. It was. They show up here, and they're going to just waste the Gators. And how'd that work out as well?
Yeah.
If the game was in Miami, I'd give a lot more credence to Miami's chances. Game's going to be here. There's going to be 90,000 people sweating on a hot August night. They need to play Brother Love's Travel and Salvation show when the Gators come out. Hot August night, and when you'd almost bet you could hear yourself sweat, they come in.
August 31st. All right, that's a fair enough appraisal. And I know, Loren, it's a national showcase with teams like Florida, and it is a big game perceptively. If Florida wins that game, then they get a chance to host Samford the next week, which should be a game they should dominate. We'll see, hopefully. But here's the deal: coming up the third week is Texas A&M. Now we're talking about the new SEC, right? We've got the championship reunion weekend, family weekend, etc. And we got Texas A&M coming here in a year that Florida is actually going to go play Texas in Austin. So now we have the new SEC field. Texas A&M. I don't know what the odds are, but that's a team Florida could beat, Loren.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you look at just some of the defections that A&M has had. Obviously, there'll be some personal grievances with the Florida team, with Jaden Hill and some of those guys. Moving
Caleb
on,
Banks.
and then Caleb. So I think that you look at that, and be a lot of motivation there. And the one thing that you can say about Billy Napier football teams is they've been a lot better at home than they've been on the road. So, when I look at not just this game, but games down the schedule, the Gators seem to show up at home under Napier pretty good. So, the Miami game, obviously Sanford should be a dub. And then Texas A&M comes in here, and now you're talking about buckling up and playing football. But, like I've said before, if they can be an improved team on defense and get off the field on third downs, I think this is a team that can manage that schedule a lot better than a lot of people are giving them a chance to. So, I'm gonna say definitely. I mean, I got them definitely taking out Texas A&M at home. Physical ball game. The head coach from Duke, his name is slipping me.
Mike
Elko. Yeah, Elko. They're going to be probably a little bit more physical than they were under Jimbo Fisher. But, I think with the addition of Ron Roberts and the upgrades at safety and linebacker, I think the Gators are going to be a little bit more physical too. So I'll give the Gators a dub on
All right, so Franz, that would give them a SEC win under their belt. October 5th, a pertinent in-state game, a team that I'm a little scared of, UCF. Florida's done pretty well against UCF over the years. Certainly the last time they played them at home, they beat them 42-0. But this is a different UCF program. They're now in a new league, and they have designs. I don't think that's going to be an easy game, Franz, do you?
It won't be easy, but I think Florida is going to win that ball game. The Swamp, I think when Florida takes out Miami, which I believe the Gators are going to do, I think the rest of September, the Swamp is going to be one of the rockingest places in all of college football. Florida fans, I believe, are ready. They're begging for a reason to get out there and scream their lungs out and go nuts and get it back to a level that it used to be. I think Florida fans are craving that, and I think that a win over Miami is going to be like throwing a can of gasoline on a fire. It's just going to boom. I think it's going to explode. I think the excitement for this team is going to explode, and I would not want to be UCF coming in here to play the big bad Gators. I really wouldn't. I know Gus Malzahn isn't afraid of anybody and so forth like that. And he's got a legitimate chance to win the Big 12. The Big 12 is going to be wide open this year, minus Texas and Oklahoma.
Huh?
But it's a whole different story when you got to come here and play the big bad Gators in our place on a night when it's going to be steaming hot. And I know they know heat down in Orlando too, but they don't have the kind of heat with 90,000 people absolutely on top of you, ready to reach out and touch somebody.
Right. Yeah.
And so forth. I just think it's a different atmosphere.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting around to, Loren, is that home field advantage that Florida used to have. And of course, we know there's some road games in between. And next time we'll talk about the road games. That brings us around the road on the home games. Kentucky home gaming, a game that Florida's got to win. They can't keep losing to Kentucky. It's homecoming. That is a really critical game for these Florida Gators. And that's a game they can win and better win.
Buddy, I know you remember back in the day, somebody come to your house and they want to try to put the paws on you and standing on the front porch or in the front yard, and you like, I ain't gonna take this in my front yard or at my house. That's kind of the way the Gators have to be against Kentucky. I mean, they flat out punked us, last year at their place, and I mean, really knocked us down. And this is really, you got to come in with the revenge kind of on your
Yeah, you
mind,
do.
and you got to defend, because they're gonna try to bully you, and you got to defend the house against the bully. I mean,
And
we
they've
got
owned this
to.
team. They own this
Yeah,
team.
right. And we got to show that. I mean, Florida has to show that they have learned to bow up and fight back. And
Right.
that game gonna be like, you hear me talk about a lot of times. It's gonna be fought in a phone booth. I mean, it's gonna be, that's a trenches game, and we can talk about the new additions of receiver and things like that. But that's gonna come down to my buddy Austin Barber and our guys on the D line and Jake Slaughter, your boy from down there in your neck of the woods. They're gonna be the guys to determine
Yeah,
that game.
I agree.
Big Dez and
Yeah.
Justice Boone and all those guys. That's their game right there.
I
I mean, that's
agree.
the best way to put it.
And that's a tone setter and for the second half of the season. What happens after that, without going into every game? Of course, we know about Georgia, but now you get down to the back half of the home schedule, and you got that LSU game. God, they have got to be LSU, Franz. They've got to be LSU. That's one of those games. That's a circle game. They owe LSU.
Well, they do, and here's the thing: LSU doesn't have Jaden Rashada anymore, and I mean not Jaden Rashada. What am I thinking of? Jaden Daniels. I've got the Jadens on my mind.
They don't have either one of them, so there you go.
Yeah, they don't. They don't have either one of them. Although I would rather face Jaden Rashada at LSU than Garrett Nussmeier, who's a good quarterback. LSU's problem is going to be the same problem they've had, which is they have no defensive players. Their people are whining and crying right now because they have lost all this defensive talent, and they really haven't gone out in the portal and replenished the talent that they've lost.
And Brian Kelly got a little heat for it.
Well, some in Baton Rouge, some friends of mine in Baton Rouge say, well, this has been addition by subtraction. We had a bad defense, and now we got rid of the people who were so bad. And that's one way to look at it. But I think that Brian Kelly, I think this is going to be his comeuppance year. I think he's a good football coach.
He's kind of due that. He's due one of those years, isn't he, Franz?
Oh, he definitely is. And he had some years like that at Notre Dame. We tend to, he did not go to Notre Dame and then just have 10-1, 11-1, 12-0 season.
Oh, he had to fire his whole staff to survive.
He had bad seasons. He had bad quarterbacks, had bad defenses, on and on and on. He did have some good teams. He's not a bad football coach, but I don't know that he's as good a football coach as some would like us to believe that he is.
Loren, that's a huge weekend, a huge game, and it sets up for what could be the game of the year at Florida Field. They got to wind up with Florida State at the end, a team I think they can beat. Ole Miss coming to Gainesville. Franz, we remember when Ole Miss came to Gainesville one time, and they played the game and beat the Gators, and Tim Tebow gave the promise, and they won a national championship. Ole Miss, they have had the best year of anybody in the portal. Lane Kiffin's coming in here, and it's going to be a hot time in the old swamp. And I can't wait to see what Billy's got for Lane. And quite frankly, I can't wait to see what Lane's got up his sleeve. But although he's loaded with players, lots of quarterbacks, you never know about injuries. So the Ole Miss game could be really the game for them to win that SEC game. Loren, that would set the tone for the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think by that time, the one thing you're going to know by then is what kind of team the Gators have. And you will know what we're looking at. And once again, no reason for the Gators not to be fired up based upon, Princely Mamielin transferring, and then some comments that were made after his leaving the program and things like that. Once again, obviously, everybody loves to hate Lane Kiffin. So, the crowd will be fired up, things like that. But, the Gators will have a lot to play for, hopefully, at that time. And, you'll know what kind of team they have, and you'll be looking at, depending on how the season goes, could they be in tune for a 10th, 11th, 12th kind of playoff spot, with the way the SEC is going to go,
Right.
and that difference that the deference that schedule should give to the selection committee, is a 8-4, 9-3
That's a
Florida
huge
team.
game in that regard.
So you look at that kind of thing now. It really means something for a lot of different reasons. So we'll know what kind of team the Gators will have, but I think that could be one of those. Now with 12 teams, a playoff implication, and obviously the following week as well. So that's what you're looking at.
And Franz said next week, of course, will be the one that says one at the top, but the jury will be in on Billy Napier by the Ole Miss game.
Well, one thing that I have emphasized, how many times, he's not on the hot seat. Now, the jury may be in on this season, whether it's going to be a good one or break even, or maybe even a losing season. Lord knows I don't think it's going to be. He's not on the hot seat, hasn't been on the hot seat. I think a lot of people, I was reading, somebody wrote, well, Billy Napier's seat just got hotter with the Rashada lawsuit. Didn't. Wasn't hot to begin with, and this certainly didn't make it hot. What's going to make things hot is for the Gators to win. Then you're going to see a hot team and hot recruiting, and you're going to see a lot of fans who are going to say, oh, Billy, I'll forget what I said. I loved him all along. Blowing off steam.
Come back, Billy. We want you. Yeah.
I really didn't mean it. I was drunk.
I've been your fan from day one. I've always loved you.
Well, I'm going out on record. I meant it. But if he wins, I'll give him a pat on the back. But I meant what I said. So there you go.
So,
hey, by the way, before we go any further, happy anniversary to Loren and Dayglow. They are
really, today's their anniversary. Really, no kidding.
Yeah, absolutely. 15 years.
15 put up with you 15 years. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
she deserves a Nobel Peace Prize.
She does.
And I bet you she'll even sign up for another 15.
Yeah. She was talking 50 more earlier. I said, I don't know if we're gonna make it that long.
Well, she's the best. We love her. You know that. And y'all are a great couple. That's wonderful. I remember being married 15 years, 100 years ago. So I was like, that's great.
Hey,
congratulations.
You gonna bring her to the softball game?
We're out of town for the weekend, so we're gonna be rooting in spirit.
Softball.
Yeah.
We're coming toward the end of the show, buddy. Softball, 12 noon tomorrow against a very good Baylor team. Got to tell you, we had Corby Otis and Jocelyn Erickson in today, media. Corby Otis is delightful. She is going to be a cardiac surgeon. Wow. When she's already taken the MCAT. She's, the clown prince of the team, the clown princess rather, Kendra Falby, says, well, talk about what people are thinking when they go up to bat, and she says, well, she's probably got some formula bouncing around in her head, But she comes across, she's super, super intelligent, sweet girl, leading the nation in on base percentage. 60% of the time, buddy, she's on base. And then you got Jocelyn Erickson, who, if she gets 3 RBIs this weekend, she breaks the school record with 81. And so that's entirely possible.
And then there's my girl Skyler. My goodness, what a great player she is.
Buddy, she is, I don't have I can't recall the exact numbers, but she's hitting close to 600 in the last 10 ball games.
700.
And I got to tell you something.
And power.
In the last 5 games in particular, she hasn't pulled a ball. She's like 12 for 16. Everything has been straight up the middle. I mean, maybe 10 feet to the left of second base, 10 feet to the right, straight up the middle. And that is a hitter who is so dialed in and clued in, and has, talk about everything working. And again, just like the other two kids we just mentioned, super nice kid from a wonderful family. Mom's a special ed teacher. Dad, I love the story that her dad told me about her. He said she came to me when she was 10 years old and said, "Daddy, I want to be a softball player," because he coached softball. And he said, "Well, what do you want?" He said, "Do you want to be good or you want to be great?" Because he says, if you want to be just good, he says, "I'll let somebody else coach you. If you want to be great, I'll coach you." She said, "I want to be great, Daddy." And he said, "Then you got to be great in everything you do." And as Tim points out, this kid trains so hard. She is the perfect example to everybody. She's in the weight room, on the field, encouraging her teammates. She is the best team player, the best teammate, and the best player on the team, all wrapped up into one.
I got to go. You guys are beginning to sound like a bunch of sunshine puppers, you know? And
Yeah,
by the
well,
way, I think I've inducted you all into my new group, haven't I, so far? Which is the Great American Sunshine Pumper Society for college football. So you
oh
guys
yeah.
are in where you're allowed to pump sunshine any day and all day. And it's okay to do that. It's fine.
All right.
Hey, guys, both of you were great tonight. I appreciate it very much. Have a great weekend. Happy anniversary, Loren. Franz,
Thank
keep
you.
writing that great stuff. I will look for your softball stuff. All right.
Thanks a bunch.
Thank you, guys.
See you
Great
guys.
job by both Loren and Franz. All right, folks. We'll wrap it up by telling you how much we appreciate your participation in this show and our sponsors, of course, Meldon Law, TitanMRI.com, and these people who are very special to me. They're personal friends of mine. They also do a terrific job as citizens in my hometown of Ocala, and they're involved in the community in many ways. And one of the main ways they're involved is our health. They're trying to find ways to give us better treatment for what we need. And how they do that, they want to encourage you to take part in a clinical trial. I mean, clinical trials exist today in order to bring new therapies to the public safely. And they want to find out what makes us tick. They want to find out what kind of health issues we have. So that data can be gathered and sent off to some large companies and get some more information, and they can custom make some of these prescriptions that we need to have for our health. If you can take part in these, you'll be helping yourself and helping them. You may receive study-related medications and procedures at no charge to you or your insurance company. You may gain access to new investigational medications or devices not otherwise available and receive compensation for your time and travel. Go to rinstar.net to find out how you might be able to be eligible and help yourself, help the community, and help all of us. Rinstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. We're off the weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday. We'll have Jeffrey Melton, his legal take on what's happened with the Jaden Rashada case. Good night.